Thanks for tuning in to the Women's Vibrancy Code, a podcast dedicated to helping women move from exhausted to energized, balance their hormones, and feeling turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. I'm your host, Maraya Brown. I'm a Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert, midwife, mom, keynote speaker, and self-made entrepreneur. I'm the founder of my signature program, the Women's Vibrancy Code. So sit back, relax, and let's chat about your energy, hormones, libido, and embracing your feminine power. Oh, and you might want to have pen and paper to take some notes on some of these episodes. Welcome back to the Women's Vibrancy Code podcast. And for those of you watching real time in Facebook, hello. I'm Maraya Brown here, women's health expert, podcast host, and founder. I have the leader and visionary Miss Lee Richter with me today, and I'm so thrilled to have this conversation. This is completely unscripted. We do not know what we're going to talk about, and I know that it's going to be juicy and insightful and impactful. So what I want you to know up front is Lee is an award-winning global leader. She's a visionary and thought leader, recognized for being one of San Francisco's top 100 women business leaders for 7 years in a row, and top 100 fastest growing businesses in the Bay Area for the 3 years running. As an entrepreneur since the 1990s, Lee has built and sold several multi-million-dollar companies, is a #1 best-selling author, an Abundance Studios producer, and a member of the Forbes Business Council. Expanding on our successful entrepreneurial journey, Lee utilizes her superpower in public relations to connect the business world with the future of business and marketing. Hint, hint. She, hopefully this is okay for me to say, she was hired by the Vatican to incorporate Web3. So if that captures your ears and eyes, keep listening. She inspires entrepreneurs and business owners to realize the importance of NFTs and blockchain and empowers them to develop and implement a strategy in their company. Lee teaches leaders globally to incorporate NFTs in their business as a tactic to achieve financial and professional success in the current marketplace. And she's the founder and CEO of Global Leaders Collective, a company focused on educating and training global leaders in all aspects of NFTs and crypto space. She launched a podcast series dedicated to NFTs, which can be found on our website. And I'll make sure that the website is in the show notes as well as her. Go ahead.
What I would say is right now with the NFTs is it's really early thinking again. It's gone a full cycle where it was like early thinking. Then it was everyone knew about it. And then some people polluted it and wanted to be black hats. And some people used it for the wrong reasons instead of the right reasons. And it's come in full circle where it's a technology that hasn't gone away. But I wouldn't make that the focus right now. I really would make it really leadership and legacy building. And I think that's where you and I intersect. So one of the things with Sandy and I is we have to make a shorter bio for people like you and for the world and really be hyper focused right now about connection. It really, it keeps coming back about connection for me. And I think that's one of the things that you and I personify is not only do we have connection, was it, a comet and lightning bolts that happened? Yes, because we love the zest of life. We have that intersection. We love our family. We love the kid energy, the visionary energy, the support each other and sisterhood energy. We get all of those things together, but it started with connection. And I think even NFTs for me is a form of connection where we get to share with our family members things we're thinking about for our future, for our, what I want to leave behind. If I leave them NFTs and it's connected to something else that's physical, maybe a necklace or a car or a boat, I don't know. But now there's a form of connection, but also a piece of technology to deliver it and celebrate and have a moment while I'm still alive that they can know that this is coming their way and why I chose it for them. So there's all these reasons for connection, and NFTs is one connection point, but really you and I, the human connection, that's why it's so valuable. I got to meet you and cross paths with you is we got the most valuable human connection where it was real. We could feel it. It felt like lightning bolts. And we're like, I don't know what just happened, but we're paying attention. We shared our families. We shared a holiday. We shared vision boards. And every day we were amazed, like how your husband grew into it, how the kids grew into it, how our dogs grew out, everything worked for us, right? How your dog showed up and how the kids showed up and got to play and even,
Yeah.
have fun,
So
right? So
I,
we're lucky about that. And I think that it's going to all come back to connection. Even that bio is going to be changed to what's CIA: connection, intention, and action.
mm,
Connection, intention, and action. I think that's
mhm,
what you and I personified is we had the connection, we created an intention, and then we created an action. And we
mhm,
did that first with connection. We did that second with visits. We did that third with creating vision boards. We did that fourth with creating an experience. We did
yeah.
that fifth by creating an opportunity to follow up and show up.
Mm,
And what did
mhm.
we do today for each other? We showed up.
Yeah. And so for those of you that are listening or watching as the train goes by, yes, Lee has a tremendous bio, but that's really the crux of it. When I met you, Lee, in Austin, I felt your heart. I felt your sincerity and your presence, and there was connection. And then you opened up your home. So I'm looking here and I see your kitchen, and we were there for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and my children have been there. And my dog's water bowl was over in the corner, and you opened your home, and we had the opportunity to spend time together and continue to grow in love and envisioning, even though it's fresh. I mean, oh my gosh, we only met what, 3 months ago? And here we are. It feels like the beginning of something really grand. And whatever it is, I am just overwhelmed with gratitude to
Mm,
have had time with you, and for my children to have time with you, and for all of us to have been graced by the presence of your daughter as a powerhouse in the world and someone who my children felt so seen by. And so I love it. It really is about connection and leadership. And I think of you as quite a leader, and you've led in spaces where many have never treaded water. And you've
mm,
been out there as the trailblazer and the one carrying the torch, um, leading. So I'm curious, when you think about leadership, where are some of the places where your leadership has shown up thus
mm.
far?
Well, I will say the hardest is actually with your own family, because sometimes miracles that we create that others see as miracles and show up and be like, oh my God, that happened. With our own family, it happens so much. They're like, yeah, another one. Yeah, another one. And I'm like, wait, did you just see that miracle? So sometimes, we have to learn how to manage our expectations of others, right? And they get to show up the way they want to show up, and it has to be okay with us. And what I've learned is there's other people in the world that get me at a different level, that are wired like me, that have the same Colby as me, that show up, that are energetic, that wake up happy, that don't have to apologize for being happy. Like for some people, they're like, can you tone down on being happy? I'm like, why would I ever do that? Not a chance. Or we not shine so bright. And Lisa Nichols taught me, well, put on your sunglasses. It has nothing to do with me dimming my light. It's everything to do with you figuring out what makes you comfortable. But
Mhm.
don't tell me to be less great or less bright or anything to make you comfortable. You go figure you out. Let me be me. And I think once I learned, I'm not here to make other people happy, but sometimes I'm here to make them think. And sometimes it's uncomfortable. And sometimes they go away and they 6 weeks later call me and they're like, wow, that day, at first I was a little thrown off or disappointed, or I kind of judged myself or whatever they will say. But 6 weeks later, when they let it set in and actually the message gets in, they're like, wow, that changed my life. And thank you for saying that. No one else was brave enough to say that or had the ability that I would pay attention, because they would pay attention to me because they knew I didn't have a horse in the race. I was just being the conduit, giving them a message. I'm like, I don't know why I'm giving you this message. If you're open for it, may I share it? I usually ask for permission. And then when they take it, sometimes they're like, wow, I needed to hear that. Sometimes they'll say it right away. Sometimes they'll say it later. Sometimes it's hard to be the messenger, and I'll let them know it's harder for me to say something than nothing. So I'm asking your true permission. Can I be real right now? And sometimes it is to deliver, you're limiting yourself, or your language has not allowed you to be your best future self. And if you just go and look at Ben Hardy teaching you how to be your best future self, maybe that will open a doorway or a mindset shift that will make a difference. I'm just letting you know to do some more work on it. And sometimes they take it like, yes, I needed to know it. And often they say, that's what I teach. I can't believe you're teaching me, because they don't see it because they're inside the jar and they can't read the label, right? And they finally see, oh my God, I'm teaching it because I have to learn it. Now I see the pathway I have to learn it.
Hey, Lee, have you seen that video with the what are they called? The fleas in the jar?
Not yet, but I'm
Okay,
interested.
there is a video out there where the scientists put a bunch of fleas in a jar with the lid on. And they're trying to jump, they're trying to jump, they're trying to find their way out, and they just keep hitting the top, hitting the lid. And after a while, he takes the lid off. And the fleas continue to jump at that same limit, and they never make it out, even though the lid is off. And so, what I'm hearing from you regarding leadership, particularly as a female leader, and you have led spaces in what I would call many male dominated containers, but you've gone in as a trailblazer. There's no questioning Lee's light. There's no questioning Lee's confidence. There's no questioning Lee's leadership, whether you're interacting with other women or other men in all different industries and all different containers. And so, and I hear loud and clear, of course, us playing small does not empower others to be light or big, right? But where does your confidence come from? Where does the stamina come from? There must be something in your origin story because it's unique.
Well, thank you for noticing, and I appreciate that. And I know sometimes people feel uncomfortable because they start a comparison thing. And Joe Polish always says, comparison is the thief of joy. And I've heard other people say it, but when says it, I really hear it. Like, don't compare. Just be happy for that person where they are on their journey. And their journey is designed by them. Your journey is designed by you. Be happy with your choices or make different choices. It's your game of life. You make the rules, make it so you win and you're happy. So I think I learned skills like that early on. My first coach was Lou Holtz. It was in the 1980s. He was working as a coach for Notre Dame football. He had a real distinct, here's connection, here's intention, here's action. It's the same thing I talked to you about before. They're connecting on the field. They're having an intention, I'm going to kick your ass. And their action is, I'm going to get that ball across the goal line. That's it. That's all they're thinking about is connection, intention, action. Same thing I talked to you about. It's just naturally inbred in me. If I make that connection, it's really special. I'm going to make the intention for the next action so that it gets even deeper or more meaningful. But what I learn as I age and what I learn as each decade goes by is connection matters more than anything. And I learned that in my 30s from a guy named Jesse Corman. He and his wife had a group that taught holistic doctors how to show up in the world and share their gifts, but also monetize. Because so many holistic doctors show up with the mindset of, it's my gift, I need to give it to the world. It's not about the money. And they saw this trend. And he and his wife, Charlotte Jacobs, saw this trend of holistic doctors who were giving away their genius and saying it's not about the money, but then they didn't have enough for themselves. And they started bringing people together and saying, how about if we put our gifts out there, but charge the right amount so we can make a better life for ourselves? And then we're in overflow when we're giving. And I had 10 doctors in veterinary medicine working for me at the time. We were a multi-million-dollar hospital. When I took over that hospital, we didn't even do $1 million yet. It's a few years later. I more than double-digit growth every year. Now as a multi-million-dollar hospital with 10 doctors with a limiting mindset and giving an average of $70,000 of services away every year, just so they didn't have to ask for money because they wanted to do the right thing, which might be a test or an x-ray or a radiograph or a specialist coming in. But that client might have said, no, I don't have the money. And they would do it anyway because it was the right thing to do. So the average veterinarian in that year was given $70,000 away per year. And I had 10 of them. That was now 700,000. So I went and tested it. And it was true. And you know why? Because they're not money motivated. They're heart motivated. And I'm drawn to people who are heart motivated. I married one. I was married to him over 25 years now, right? Why? Because he's heart motivated. He does it for the right reasons. He wants that pet to have their best health. He's not always in it for the client the same way as he is for the pet, but the pet doesn't have a spokesperson like him. He's the best one on the planet, both holistic. But when I learned about the doctors giving that away, I started saying, then that's less resources for me to take care of the team and the community. We have to change this. We have to change your mindset. And all of a sudden they've worked 20% less and got double income because their mindset went to, I could do it in 4 days and I could have 3 days off and enjoy my life, and I could do better. And here's how I can do better. I could start charging the right amount. However, I gave them each $5,000 stipend to give away if someone applied and said, I don't have enough for this. Could you help me? And here's why. If they took that step, they were able to say, hey, I have this, I can make 50% go away. I can make 100%. They had the power because they had a stipend. Now it was the conversation through our pet and wildlife fund. Now it was a nonprofit giveaway. Now they were coming in on their day off because they wanted to do that surgery for free. And it was their choice. That's the difference. They came in for education and service. It wasn't about the money. The clients didn't see that. And sometimes they think veterinary medicine's expensive. It's just expensive because insurance companies are not involved as highly. So they're not dictating to the veterinarians how to be a great veterinarian. So they could still be a great doctor. And I love that. I see behind the scenes how the heart is so big to do the right thing. And I want clients to understand that they're showing up in the highest genius of medicine and caretaking. They really care. And because it's not about the money, me as a CEO who still needs finance to cover everything, for me, it has to be about the money to have enough resources. But I still have the heart connection to understand what they're going through. So we did launch a nonprofit in 2004. We did make a place that they could do it. We did $100,000 a year of services for the community for free, at least every year for over 14 years. We still have that nonprofit. We've helped people in floods. We've helped people in fires because my husband's committed to helping pets in need and pets and wildlife in need. So we have that opportunity. We've connected with people at the Nobel Peace Prize family and worked with them. Their photographer did things and projects together. Like my daughter was part of that when she was 6, 7, 8 years old. She was out fundraising for pets and wildlife in need. She got to connect through heart. She got to create an intention of helping pets. She created action so people would make a donation of time or money or resources. And because she was part of that, she understands it's a form of commerce. Trading a valuable asset, a feeling, anything you want to for that action or result or donation, right? So she learned that early on. It's a form of commerce. And is leadership showing that where it's not like you have to go out and make money, but it's you can go out and do something good in the world and create a positive action to a reaction.
Well, and so there's a couple themes coming up for me. There's this underlying thing of many individuals. I work mainly with women, so many women who struggle with the energy of receivership, struggle with the energy of worthiness, so often don't show up in the power and the confidence and knowing that they can shine their light. And there's also this mixed conversation around heart and money. And I think many people have hangups there where we go, wait a minute, can the two exist in the same conversation? Can the two exist in the same place? Which then I go, well, no wonder you spend time with Marianne Williamson. And I think about that most well-known quote. Anyway, I'm curious your thoughts on
I'm going to go back to the root of your question though.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Before we even go to the next one. And I do want this next one. So hold it, write it down if you have to, hold that place.
Yep.
You said they don't show up. And what I want to do is challenge your conversation around they want to show up better.
Yep.
So instead of not showing up, that's not even an option. Just show up a little bit better than yesterday and show up for yourself first. I've learned in a lot of things, when you make a commitment to yourself and you keep it, that's how you build your self-esteem and confidence. Is you say, hey, 10 a.m. tomorrow, I'm going to take the dogs for a 20-minute walk because that's good for me and good for them. I'm going to take them each. So now it's 40 minutes if I want to. However, what I do is I make a commitment to myself and then I keep it. When I do that, that helps build my self-esteem. Now you look for where are those connections? Hey, guess what? When I take out my dogs for walks, do you know how many of my neighbors stop me to say hello? I can connect with 5 people. If I know them, I might get a hug. Now I get 5 hugs. You get your kids in the morning. When you connect with them and you hug them, doesn't that change your physiology?
Yep.
Do you feel love? So when we go back to the absolute beginning of this conversation, which you and I will always go back to your children because they're absolutely the next generation of greatness. And the 3 of them are so special. And I feel so honored to have had time with them. Honestly, they're just incredible kids. But what I see through their eyes is wonderment and how do I make my world better? They're only thinking of theirs. They're microcosmic at the moment. And theirs is the 3 of them, which is great. They come as a unit because they are caring about each of their experiences and their parents. And they want to make it better. And they learned one valuable thing that day that they repeated to me 24 hours later, which is that first thing in leadership is in the first gateway, does it take me closer to love? In the first gateway. So if I'm on the planet for two things, to love and be loved, then as a leader in the first gateway, the first thing for me to say yes, like even being on this podcast with you today, is an instant connection to more love because it's you. It doesn't matter to me who else is on, even though I can't wait to connect with them too, I'm sure. And I can't wait to have a vision of love where they are connected and tell me about it and tell you about it. But right now, all that matters to me is you and your three children and that connection, right? And right now I said yes at all. I didn't even matter what time, didn't matter anything except for yes, because of that connection, which takes me closer to love. Now they learn that in 24 hours because they have such great minds and they see, hey, it can be that simple. Why does everyone make it so complex? They could see it in their dog. Hey, does it take me closer to love? Yeah, I'm gonna lay with this dog for the next half hour because I am loving life, laying with this dog. That's it. They learned it to be that simple.
Well, and the other thing I heard you say is it's about a commitment to myself. So when I make a commitment to myself and I keep it, I'm now expanding my love for myself. I'm now expanding
It's
my
true.
capacity. And I imagine there are some listeners who are saying, well, but I've been wronged. There have been people in my life where there was trauma and they didn't do what they say they were going to do. And can I
And
trust them?
helping you to think that way, even a
Right.
little, because you're putting yourself in a victim mindset. And I learned from people like David Nagel. I've learned from people like Lisa Nichols. Hey, when you wake up in the morning, why don't you put yourself in a positive mindset? And it's called Today's the Happiest Day. I love my life. What can I do today to make my life better? Read
Yeah.
your list of 5 gratitudes from when you went to sleep last night. If you're conditioned
Mhm.
and you need your brain to think gratitude, then write 5 of them before sleep. I'm grateful for the meal I had. I'm grateful my car worked. I'm grateful my husband showed up. I'm grateful I was on time and made my plane. I was grateful I woke up and I'm breathing.
Yeah.
Now, this morning, if I want to know how to be spiral up, just read that from before I went to sleep. And if I did that before I went to sleep, I might even have better dreams. So I am the person who treats myself to my game of life. Why not make the pieces that win? If putting 5 things I'm grateful for before I go to sleep so I could start in positive mindset, then I'm going to do it. I'm going to floss my teeth every day because I know it's good for me and gives me healthier health because I see it in dogs. It can increase their life so much if they're just their teeth are flossed. If
Wait, you
people
floss dogs' teeth?
you can, if you could teach them when they're 3, 4, 5 months old, because you know what? Everyone builds plaque in 36 hours. So your dogs are doomed unless you really take care of them as dental stuff regularly. And cats aren't going to let you do it, but dogs might. But if you learn how to dental, teeth, and floss, then you can add years to their life just by having good dental hygiene. This is why taking teeth out that rot are important because you don't want to deter dental hygiene and make it worse. And when dogs get those problems in there and they get an abscess, they grow in rapid rates. So dental hygiene is really important. I would recommend our holistic doctor. You know what? People come in every quarter and just say, what do I need to know this quarter, this season, in the summer? What do I need to know? Hey, no foxtails, do this for their teeth, exercise, this much water. Now it's different in the winter. In the winter, keep them in. Put a sweater on them if it's snowing outside and keep them warm. They're still cold. Put little, whatever it is they need is based on the season they're in. We have gotten conditioned to see it once a year, but just like us, every season we change, they change. They have bodies, they have brains, they're connected. They have pain centers, they have heart centers. They emanate so much love and heart. This is why we fall so badly in love with them. They don't have a filter other than this takes me closer to love or food. Or sleep. Love, food, sleep. It's that simple.
The important things.
But
Well,
that's the
and
same with your kids. Love, food, sleep. The minute you got to my house, you're like, I need food for the kids. I get it. Love, food, sleep.
yeah.
That's it. It's
Yeah.
that simple.
And also, this is a total tangent, but as a midwife, I think of dental care as being so important for the unborn baby. We know the quality of the placenta, all of that ties down. And so we go back to oral care. So just as a total side note, for those of you listening, if you have a dog, take care of their teeth. If you
You know,
are
and
listening, take care of
us
your
too.
teeth.
I hear people like, I love flossing and I actually put it right
Me
by my sink. So
too.
I just love it. So I put those little ones that are good just right there in a little bowl and I see them. So I floss twice a day and I love it. And other people are like, oh, I don't like, I'm like, you need to teach your brain that you love it. And when I go to the dentist, which I go every 3 months, I book the next 6 months out. I go every 3 months. They know I come in. And when I go, they're like, I never have bleeding gums. I always have the right lines. I'm always in positive. And they're like, it's because you take care of yourself since you were little. And I had really good teeth back then. And my daughter has the most beautiful, amazing teeth. I was watching her today and I'm like, God, you have perfect teeth. Hers were so perfect. They put braces on to give her a pitch so it wouldn't rub together. I'm like, how does someone be so
There,
perfect? They have to
there's
fix it.
there's something that I heard you say that I really want to highlight. Teach my brain that I love it. That goes back to leadership, self-leadership. I think about, I have a client, she despised salad. She wouldn't eat vegetables. And she, in her scenario, she really wanted to lose 100 pounds. And I said, I'm not going to help you lose weight. I will help you with cellular well-being. I will help you with vitality. And along the journey, she shifted her mindset to tell herself, I love salads. And now she does. She loves salad. She loves vegetables. And to think of the impact that that has had on so much ripple effect. And now she gets to be a better leader and show up more in all the people that she touches. But
She's vibrant, which was your whole initial, what was your intention? Be vibrant. What was the action? Take these small steps to turn into big steps and teach your brain to like it. Your game, your brain, if you want it and you know it's good for you. Hey, may I share one thing that I noticed with my daughter? So my daughter now is in her second year at Northeastern. She's in the medical track and she's doing a track right now, which is a work study program, but she's actually working. She's the only student at Tufts University Medical Center. When she was there last Friday, she had a 12-hour shift, first one ever, understood what it was like to really give your all. She told me it took her 2 or 3 days to recover just from that one 12-hour shift, even the energy exchange. She's in tune because she worked in veterinary hospitals and she could feel the dramatic difference with people. She made one very, very noticeable note, which was, Mom, I saw 3 families in that day saying goodbye to their family members. They were in their 80s. And the reason why was liver problems from drinking. And she said, in that minute at 19, I will limit my drinking based on seeing these people at end of life having to say goodbye too early. And she saw how painful it was. And I thought, this is why they graduate adults in this school, is because at 19, it registered before she started drinking anything in college too dramatic. It let her know, this is why my mom is saying, don't mess with your brain between now and 25. My goal is to keep it as glowing as possible so it's growing in the right direction. So when we're saying teach my brain to love it, I want her to teach her brain to love being healthy. And she is a vegetarian and she loves salads. I had that easy since she was 5. She eats like you. Absolutely clean eating, which is the way to go. My husband's a vegan, has his best gut biome of anyone on the planet. They even say he's the model. He's been a vegan since the 90s. Now, am I saying be a vegan? No, maybe just 1 or 2 days though, because it gives you a reset. There's things that will work for your body that are different than mine, but when you tune in what works for yours, you're lucky. My daughter, Abby, tuned in. She eats when she's hungry, vegetarian, 90%. If she's eating 90% of what she really wants, it's fruitarian, fruit first. However, she can't afford it as a student, so it's mostly vegetarian. But when she's home, it's fruit forward. But she knows what works for her. And I see that with you, Maraya. You know what works for you. And what you did for this woman as she transitioned and learned to love salads is you created an intention and space and held it, knowing she would get there eventually. But there's very few people who will be as patient as you and say, well, it's going to take a little while to get there. Instead of saying, I told you, you said you got there in divine timing. And that's what I love about you in leadership. And this is why you and I resonate, is everyone's going to get there on their own timing. And it's no right, no wrong, no comparison. And as Lisa Nichols says, and this is really important, and I recommend everyone write this down for every relationship, because this is so huge. I've had people write back to me and say, can you tell me what that lesson was again? And it is this: in every relationship, everyone, you have 3 things. Number 1 is nothing to prove. Nothing 2 is nothing to hide. And number 3 is nothing to defend. And if you can come with those 3 things and be like, hey, I'm committed to nothing to prove, nothing to hide, nothing to defend, then we can be real together and we can grow together. And we could say, hey, this is how I feel. And it's not right or wrong. It's the truth of how I feel. And that's the safe space that people need to learn the most. And I think you nailed it with your family. You have it. And now you're in it. So the kids don't know it's always the magic, but that's the magic between what you have and others need to learn to develop. I'm not going to say they don't have it, because I want them to develop it. That's the subtle difference in language. You're the model, so others can see they can develop it as well. Not to compare and say they don't have it, but say, hey, starting today, I have a new habit. I'm going to floss twice a day, and my family and I are going to rise because we're developing this new skill. And the skill is we create intention. We really celebrate our connection, right? You sit at the table every day and you have the word for the day to celebrate your connection, right? Each one of you knows that word from yesterday because you celebrated that connection and why it was so valuable to share that feeling. Now, intention is what you do with it, and then action is how you take it in the world, right?
Yeah.
So you are doing that every day in such a great way. I want to be connected. And it's funny, as we're talking about me coming to Ashland, part of that is so you and I can multiply that. We'll make it look easy and others won't know what happened because we do it naturally, but they're definitely going to want to join in. And this is how you break the glass ceiling. And yes, the glass ceiling, Lou Holtz taught me, is not out in the world. It's here in our head. And Dan Sullivan taught me it's not out in the world, it's here in our head. And a lot of the glass ceiling is based on this. And this is what Dan Sullivan said. And I see some truth in it. And it's not going to be for everyone. But a lot of the glass ceiling we build in our head to be what's comfortable for us to be the most successful, but still accepted in our family and not looked at as either showing off or who do you think you are, or who, whatever it is, we want to be comfortable in our family system. And a lot of times for women, it's not to be more successful than the men, because the men are not always comfortable with us being more successful. Now, you're fortunate, your man lives to celebrate your success at the highest level. He really does. And this is one of the reasons why I love you guys as a couple, because I wish every man could learn from him how to show up and really celebrate the light as bright as possible. Because what I know about you, Maraya, is your light is so bright, it lights up the entire world. The entire, not even just USA nation, it's the whole world. And he never wants to distinguish it. He always wants to multiply it. And I've learned with a lot of men, even with me, they love it till they feel inadequate, insecure, or compare. Now, when they're comparing, now they're in defending, now they're in hiding, now they're in the things they can't tell me because they don't feel safe. So it's a reverse, and it's unusual for a man to feel not worthy, but it's not unusual for a woman to feel that way. And I wonder why. So I don't feel not worthy, and my brain doesn't go there. It's not wired to go there. So when you ask me, what do I do? The vibrancy code for me is I got gifted a brain that the brain does not have to apologize for my ambition ever. And Dan Sullivan said he put me in that high level mastermind with Gino Wickman and Dean Jackson and Joe Polish and actually Dean Graciosi and all these amazing people, Mike Koenigs. Like, I'm so fortunate to be in this group. And the reason I'm in there, he said, is I never had to apologize for my ambition. And he saw I didn't have a glass ceiling. And I go back and thank Lou Holtz for helping me remove it. And for the lessons he taught me when I was in my 20s and my brain was still ready to be developed. But I had someone teaching me, it's a man's world, but it doesn't matter. You're a person, you're a human. When you're a leader, it doesn't matter male or female. It matters person. It matters heart-based. And the thing about being a heart-based leader is I have a secret weapon. I really care.
You really do. It's palpable. So I'm sure for everyone listening, you can likely just feel it. I feel so seen by you. I feel so acknowledged by you, but also it was from the beginning. There was this um kind of mother energy from the perspective of, when we're children and it feels so good to get a hug from our mom, like that, you do it to the whole room. You
Oh,
do it to the people that are there. And I think it's palpable and it's needed. It's
in
needed.
that room, I really care about those people. I've known them all basically a decade. We've grown up together. You were the newbie in the room, and
I
other
was.
people, what happened was that connection in the room is so deep that we know you're already credentialed to be in the room. You could not be in the room unless you were the best of the best. That's just it. So no matter what, the minute you were invited in that room, I already knew you were exceptional. You had to be there. So all I could do was see you as amazing. And I did from minute one. I'm really glad we connected. And that was my my biggest reason I was in Austin that time was to make that connection with you. I know that.
So kind. And even in that, we in this kind of mindset reset when we're starting to shift um the belief that we love something, even for someone to say, I love being seen. I love being a leader. For some, that's their I don't love salads. But it's like,
Mm.
okay, well, let's shift it. How
No, I
about,
love it. I love, love,
yeah.
love it. I'm building legacy now. I just got 6 patents approved, and all I'm thinking about is how can I help other women get their patents approved? And I just helped one person get their patent approved who was so excited because she said the patent office said it was the most beautiful patent application they'd ever seen. And she was seen in a way which was, I'm even better than they expected. I'm even better than they expected. Like, she didn't even know she could be. I saw her patent application before she put it in, and I saw what transpired. What transpired was we made a connection. I created an intention of, hey, this is such a great idea. Why don't you create a patent around it? And she's like, well, if you can do it, I can do it. And she took action and actually did it. So it was that same CIA, right? So simple, but she trusted me and knew me for years and didn't have to think twice. Like, is that a good idea or not? She was just like, Lee said, do this. I'm going to go do it. And then did it. And then 3 months later, I see her application. And I'm like, I've never seen anyone do something. My dad was an engineer and I never saw application so beautiful. I sat and read it for like the next 45 minutes. She was more exceptional. The patent office called her and told her, this is the nicest patent we've ever seen. I'm like, it was like
Wow.
one of the nicest they'd ever seen. That let her know there was no glass ceiling. The only thing was she didn't know she could do it. And once she knew she could do it, do you think she's writing 10 more patents right now? She probably is.
Do you have more time in your 24 hours than other people?
People ask me that all the time, and it's really interesting because I get the same 24 hours, but I do have that secret power, like I mentioned to you this morning, which is I don't have to trick my brain and being happy. I'm just happy. The other thing is I sleep. I got a 90 last night, slept 8 hours, 2 minutes. Sleep is a superpower. This one thing that you learn early on. If I can teach myself to go back to sleep and have more REM or deep sleep, then I've totally won at the game of life. That's how simple it is. I could wake up, see my aura ring, and just be, wow. I just had, it just said to me, I had 5 days that were 90 and above. And then it's like, you're in the top percentage of all of like that. You're 90 every day and sleeping.
Okay, so now you've really captured people's attention because I can't tell you how many people struggle with sleep.
Oh, it is. When I say it's a superpower, anyone who meets me, the first question they ask me is, do I ever sleep? Always. So you even saying, do you have the same 24 hours? People have asked me that. It is very much the superpower. And I'm glad that I have that in spades. I got to say, like, I am very lucky that, like today, it had a message in here and it's gone now. I got to start saving the screenshots of the messages because it's like, you are on such a streak. How are you doing it? You're in the top percentage because I had 90. I had like 89 or 90 every single day.
So what's your secret to quality sleep?
I love my life. I don't have to write the 5 things I'm grateful for because I live them. But I'm always in gratitude. My friend Lee Brower says it's called Be Big, BIG, which is be in gratitude. So all day long, I'm thinking about things I'm grateful for. If I'm mad at something, I've learned to put it in a small container, like 5 or 10 minutes, just let it loose, call a friend, say everything I want, definitely get it out. I think that's part of the reason my immune system and I'm really good is I get it out. I don't keep it in and have to think about it again. Yesterday, I listened to a podcast and one of the things they said is, when you make a decision, everything else is eliminated. So I think I'm a good decision maker and I just eliminate all the other choices. So I don't have to go to sleep thinking, oh, what if this, what if that? Man, it's just gone. I just said, I'm driving to the store or I'm using Instacart. And then once I decide, I don't say, oh, I wonder what it would have been like if I drove to the store. Would I have seen Maraya there? No, I don't do that. I just say, I'm glad I did Instacart and I move on.
Right.
So but then other people come to my house and they're struggling and they're saying, oh my God, I spent all this time getting groceries for my mom and it was such a waste of time. I'm like, why didn't you do Instacart? And they're like, oh, I never thought of it. Next day, come over and say, my life changed today because I had Instacart deliver everything. I met him at the door. I put it away. It was half an hour. She was happy. I was happy. they didn't think of it because just like I said earlier, they were in the jar. They couldn't read the label. They didn't see the solution. But for me, I'm like, Instacart, 10 minutes, worth it. Give them a $10 tip, worth it all day long. Have the groceries.
Mhm.
When I travel, I learned this from Maston Kipp. He was staying in a hotel next to me 10 years ago in LA, and he had a delivery of food at his door. So all those healthy greens and salads, he believes eating that way is important. He lives that way. I saw 3 things of groceries at his door. I went and looked in and I'm like, damn, he has all this healthy stuff. He was my next door neighbor. Now I asked him later, he's like, oh yeah, every city I go to, my team knows what to have there. We use a thing called Get Magic. It's an app. We tell him what to get. He goes, it's worth my time to not eat in a restaurant, not eat bad stuff, and have everything just there ready. And they also have the refrigerator there and ready, and they have a case of water there for him. And he taught me, yeah, you set it up. Make sure you win in the game of life. You have the right
Yep.
nutrition, you have the right drink, you have everything you need just ready for you.
Yep. And you're worthy of it and you love doing it. And it's
And it,
like,
yeah,
and I
it's
think as we
easy.
become more well-oiled machines, and we feel spectacular, and our cellular well-being is spectacular, and our sleep is spectacular, the days just flow. And I love this concept of I make a decision once and it's done.
Yeah, it eliminates all the other possibilities. So I'm not sitting there going in circles. And I will tell you,
Mhm.
it's really good for marriages. If I learned with my husband, he needed a 2-day lead way. So on Mondays, I'd say, here's the 3 decisions we have to make. Here's some of the ideas. Why don't you go think about it? I'll think about it. And on Wednesday, let's revisit it and see what you think. And so we're doing that right now. Actually, we're renegotiating different pieces of our marriage and lifestyle and all that. And we're putting it together and we're saying, okay, what do we do next? And what questions should we ask? We even put it in ChatGPT and ask that, what questions should we ask so that we're being neutral and it's not emotional. It's actually a transaction in some ways. And at work, we need it to be a transaction. If it's emotional, it could be a weapon that's not good instead of good sometimes. So after
Mhm.
25 years working together, we've learned the more we're Switzerland and neutral in some things, the better. And we're kind to each other. We give each other time for that decision making. Now, me, I can make the decision within 59 minutes, less than an hour for sure. I've learned when it's something for the both of us, I will table it until Wednesday and I'll be open for his ideas before I make a decision. And that's fair. Right
Mhm. Mhm.
now, there are times where I want to make that decision in the first hour and move on, and I have to be patient. And there's times where I'm like, this is my domain. You're not part of it. So those rules are out the window. I have 59 minutes to make that decision if I want to, and I'll let you know what I did. So it just depends. We get to decide how people treat us. And I think we're in our 4th decade together and we're just deciding new ways to treat one another. And are we having the connection? Yes. Are we creating intention? Yes. Are we creating action? Yes. Some of them are new actions. And I learned in business and I learned in life, change happens and we have to adapt. And right now, after
Mhm.
COVID, what I know this next generation learned more than anything is how to adapt better than any generation prior in the last couple of decades because they had COVID and we did not. We were just going on la la la. And when we had COVID, it was like the world stood still. For them, they figured out how to still have connection. They figured out
Mhm.
to still be connected. My daughter figured out if she played on the tennis team, she still got to see her friends in person. Now, were they outside? Yes. Did they have to wear masks? Yes. But seeing her friends every day and practicing tennis was her saving grace.
Yep.
I drove her and dropped her off. My husband would pick her up. We had it all down to a science. It helped her stay sane. She knew what she needed, which was connection in real life. Now,
Yep.
some kids like yours are in the same house. They have it in the house, but they still need their friend group. That's what we learned. We all need our connections. Like you and I are, we're friends outside of each of our marriages and our families. We're friends first, and we've included our families, but our connection goes deep because it's sisterhood, right?
Mhm.
And it's rare as you get older to connect at that level so easily. So I agree with you. Like we were lucky to be in that room because it's just such a sweet spot in life and one of the
Yeah.
magnificent places. So thank
Mhm.
you for saying yes. Thank you for that connection.
I'm so grateful. I'm aware of time too. I think you and I can talk forever. For the individuals that are listening to this and they long for for more connection, they would like to show up as stronger leaders in work and community for themselves in their family unit. I hear loud and clear connection, intention, action. I hear loud and clear teach the brain that I love it. I'm curious if there's anything else you would say to that individual that's listening.
Wow. You have all the answers inside. And people used to say that to me. And sometimes I'd get mad and I'm like, oh, but I learned so much from Dan Sullivan, or I learned so much from Joe Polish. The reason we're learning is because it matches up. The frequency matches up. So I had to have it for me to learn from them. And all they did was prove to me I was on the right track. So it really starts within us. And I think a lot of people think they need to gather more information or more connection or more support or more money or more resources, more time, whatever it is, that's their excuse or reason to stay in victim small mindset, which is their story. So I think what happened for me is I met someone who helped me retell my stories, and I told them in a more powerful way. And Lisa Nichols was the first one, and I love her and I'm so grateful for her. And I want to tell everyone, go to YouTube and look up some Lisa Nichols, because just seeing her, she's so real. Behind the scenes, at home, same person. She's been here to my house. She's been my guest here in the Bay Area for days. She's hung out with my daughter, and she is real in person. I've been in her shoe closet and I see what a glorious collection she has. She's got the life. I'm telling you, I was part of her shower for her wedding, and I could see just how much love oozes out from her. She hand selected people who love her, and she told us why she picked us. And what I learned from Lisa is that nothing to defend, nothing to hide, nothing to prove. And he would learn my stories, but then tell them back to me. And sometimes I'd be crying my eyes out because they'd be so great. And I'm like, I didn't even know my stories were that great. But she naturally knows how to bring out the best, and she knows how to present it in a way that other people are included in the story. So it's not really my story. It's like our story we're knitting together, and you see the pieces relevant to you. And I get to share pieces that are either inspiring or make you think. And those are such gifts, right? But you have to be open for it and ready. And so when we're ready for that frequency and we're like, oh, I learned this thing, it was already in us. We couldn't have just been open to learning it unless we were hardwired for that to be part of us. So I think so many people think the power's outside when the power is really inside. And I mentioned to you earlier, like my favorite award ever was being in the top mothers of the year in California. And it was a couple years ago. And that's one of the things I learned there is we don't know what makes us great to other people. We only know what makes us great to ourselves. And if we know what makes us great to ourselves, keep doing that. Do it a lot. And as Dan Sullivan, he says, don't strengthen your weaknesses, strengthen your strengths. So I think the more like you get to be like, teach my brain to love it. The things we naturally love, keep doing those more and more and more. The reason we say teach my brain to love it is there's some things we might not like, but it's still good for us. And nutrients, getting greens in our body, being kind to ourselves, telling our brain we love ourselves, and being in self-love, all those things we get to do. It's up to us. We get to choose, I'm happy or I'm unhappy. We get to choose. I get to choose that I want to be friends with my husband, or I get to choose that when he comes in, I want to make him feel inferior or superior or a hero or whatever it is. I get to choose how I want to show up, and he will reflect back to me a lot of that. It's all inside of us. It's magnetism. I mean, when you showed up at my house, I was in an ant frenzy. Do you remember? It was so out of character for me because all of these ants infiltrated my house like literally minutes before you got here, and it was thousands. And it took me out of character, and it took me a little while to get back to my who I really am. And it was interesting that you got that preview because you could have been here for 5 days and never seen that. But in that moment, I was being my true authentic self in the house, which is I have to create a new action. It wasn't prepared for, but I still have to do that before I can do anything else. Do I want to be oozing and overflowing in love for you when you get here? Yes. I had 3 days to prepare. I couldn't wait to just be a love magnet for you. And the ants had another story, and I had to be something else. But it also had to recover from that and get back to the connection and what was important. And I wonder, like, why did those ants distract me from my beacon of love? Those kids, all of that. I don't know. I have no idea now, but later it'll be clear to me. But what I do know is that we did recover. We did have a great time. We figured out the ants, but at the same time, I still had to deal with that and not just be in la la land, right? I can't be in la la land 24/7 and be happy all the time. However, when a problem comes my way, don't let it derail me forever, just for this moment. And I think containing that as part of the self-love, still have that moment, especially as women. I notice some people tend to, keep things in. And sometimes I see them get sick over and over and over again. And I'm like, you need to get it out, go somewhere, be free, be safe. And I think that's part of the self-love. And I have a couple of relationships that, had to go back with my tail between the legs and say, I'm sorry because I was so expressive and they didn't have the capacity, but I still need to let it out. And so you have to figure out your safe space. And luckily I've been more, selective with the people that I'm 100%. And I'm grateful for you that I could, and we could recover, but not everyone can. Not everyone can. And that's one of the things I learned. You're resilient. Your kids are resilient. Your kids have learned just go with the flow. They have learned that. They showed it so many times. And you have male and female energy in each of them, and each one of them in their own way showed that they could go with the flow, or when they couldn't, when they said, okay, I hit my capacity, mom, I need to sleep, or I need to take a shower, I need to eat. What you did was you gave them free space to be 100% authentic them. And that's what the world needs. And I think you and I as leaders, how do we let people feel so safe and so happy that they have hope for a better future because they can be their authentic self and be loved? Right? That's what the brain wants. Can I be my 100% true self and be loved? And you give that space. You give it here in the podcast with these hard conversations. You give it to your family every single day. You give it to yourself. And I think that's one of the things that's been your vibrancy code that you multiply with your audience is you've learned, even when it's hard, even when you're at capacity with everyone else, to still stop and give it to yourself.
Yeah.
Give that self-love, to give yourself time, to make sure you have the nutrients you need. And you chose a husband that makes sure you have the nutrients you need and the water you need and the love you need and honors you for that. And I think that's like the bonus piece. You don't need it outside of yourself, but when you get that extra flow, it's like the cherry on top. You can't help but smile because you're like, look how beautiful that is. I can't wait to dip in. And it's not always easy. And we have contrast where it's hard so that we can appreciate it more when it's great.
Yeah. And I'm hearing loud and clear that you don't perseverate on decisions. When there's a bump in the road or an unexpected twist and turn, you allow yourself to feel it, allow yourself to express it, but then move on swiftly. And there's no
Be
perseveration.
resilient. As Brene Brown says, be resilient and be in gratitude that you had that lesson and you were capable of that lesson and that you even witnessed that lesson so you could either do it again, do it better, or do it not at all. That's your choice in the future. Once you get through that lesson, now you get to evaluate, how am I going to be when that lesson comes again?
Yeah. Yeah, so good. For anyone that wants to lean in more, follow you, reach out to you, learn more from you, where do you suggest they start?
That's a good question. My main website is goasklee.com, GOASKLEE.com. And then my email is Lee, Lee, at goasklee.com. So you can definitely send me an email. I want to hear great stories. I want to hear people when they're like, hey, I want to celebrate this connection. I want to celebrate this intention. Here's where I'm taking action, or here's where I took action and how it helped, or how I learned, or how I want to share with you. So I'm open to those conversations. I haven't been on social media as much lately. I've had so much transition in my family. I just said goodbye to a brother on Friday, which was very shocking. I'm still in ceremony around that. I have people coming in right now from Seattle and stuff to do ceremony with me for the family. And what I learned is the vibrancy code is our brain is really be in gratitude. Like I said, Lee Brower said, think big, B-I-G, be in gratitude. And Brene Brown said, be resilient, be in gratitude. And then the other leaders are saying, make a decision, be resilient and be in gratitude. So I think that's all of us right now, especially in 2024, is we want to celebrate our connections. We want to have intentions. We want to have action, but we want to also let go of the things that didn't work before and use the language to take us to the things we really want right now.
So good. Thank you, Lee. Thank you for who you are in the world. Thank you for who you are for me and who you are for my children and my husband, and also for the future. I feel overwhelming gratitude. So for everyone listening, hopefully you've loved listening along, and until next time.